Welcome to this episode of our program Daily Debate. As usual, we will be discussing an important topic. Tonight we'll be focusing on education in Egypt and implementing the strategy of Egypt's Vision 2030, improvise a high-quality education and training system available to all without discrimination, within an efficient, just, sustainable and flexible institutional framework, providing the necessary skills to students and trainees to think creatively and empower them technically and technologically has become a must. This has been very much asserted by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who always stressed that Egypt is dedicated to investing in education, science and culture and keeping up with the economic change, building competitive capacities in the labor market and promoting the skills of jobs of the future in light of the continuous digital changes in the world and definitely Egypt transformation into or digital transformation. Egypt, the new republic, necessitates investing in human capital, and part of that is really providing quality education. This will be focusing on in our episode. Before we delve into our discussion, let me first take the first the top story of the day. And President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received a phone call from Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. The presidential spokesman, Councillor Ahmed Fahmy, said that the Italian Prime Minister praised the distinguished relations between Egypt and Italy and the keenness of both countries to develop them, expressing her deep appreciation for the wise leadership of President Sisi and stressing the keenness to enhance constructive communication and the continuation of regular consultation and coordination regarding various files of common interest, as well as discussing regional and international developments and means of boosting and strengthening the frameworks of joint cooperation with Egypt in various fields. On his part, the President expressed appreciation to the Italian Prime Minister, stressing that Egypt attached special importance to strengthening strategic cooperation relations between both countries and exploiting the broad prospects in this regard at various levels, as well as continuing coordination and consultation with the Italian side on the political, security, military and economic files of common interest in a way that helps maintain security and stability in the Middle East, the Mediterranean and the African continent. Right, before we move on to our discussion, let me first have this report. And President Sisi calls for maintaining efforts to develop high education. Let's watch.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has directed officials to maintain strenuous efforts to develop the higher education sector and upgrade the academic and research at universities and institutes in the country. President al-Sisi said that the education issue is so important to the state and is considered a top priority to build the Egyptian human being as per related criteria worldwide. President al-Sisi was speaking at a meeting with Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli and Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research Ayman Ashur. The President also ordered to best benefit from the knowledge bank, given it is playing an important role in honing skills of graduates to meet requirements of the labor market, in addition to scaling up the research production of universities and research centers nationwide. Presidential spokesperson Councillor Ahmed Fahmy said President al-Sisi was posted on the latest developments on implementing the national strategy for higher education and scientific research that is aiming to develop these two important sectors. The meeting discussed efforts to develop the Egyptian Knowledge Bank to promote education and scientific research. The meeting probed as well ongoing efforts to establish and operate more IT and Ahliya universities in the country. The Higher Education Minister talked about efforts to develop and upgrade efficiency of teaching hospitals and their role in providing health services nationwide.
Right, welcome back. And before we start with our discussion, let me first welcome our guest, Dr. Mohamed Khalil Musa, educational consultant. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. I'm so honored to be with you on the show.
My pleasure. And let me start here with the revolution Egypt is trying to start, particularly in the education system. And what kind of strategies and plans have been put for that?
Of course, as you know, that in the aftermath of the pandemic, there were so many changes happening, especially the whole transfer from the traditional education to online and virtual education. And, during that time, many decision makers tried their best to maintain the level of education by providing different services like the Egyptian Knowledge Bank, which provide actually free access to many websites, many channels.
No, we'll speak about the Knowledge Bank on its own, because it's very
that
important.
was actually a revolution itself, because we were not used to having something like a free source to National Geographic and other international channels. So the whole revolution started, of course, with the pandemic, and then afterwards, after that, President Sisi highlighted the importance of preparing graduates for the market skills. And this is something quite important, is that we've always thought about education as a certificate, and we know quite well that many parents and students have always been kind of certificate oriented. And then we found a kind of a new wave of change, like a wind of change, which is, no, we should prepare the graduates for the market by providing them with the market skills. Raising awareness, providing awareness campaigns about the importance of the market. That was a revolutionary step. In other words, telling the candidates, telling the graduates that you really need to acquire market skills, working under pressure, improving your language, having free access to international markets through the websites, being part of globalization. And of course, you know quite well that during the conferences, many educationalists have started to coin that term of the global student, that student who can work across the world from Egypt. And they've started to invest in that student because he himself or she herself could be a source of income of foreign currency, since she can work anywhere from home, online. So now there is a kind of a new change, revolution, in terms of not having just a certificate, but students have to be well prepared. In addition, I can see through the conferences and the spokesperson from the government that there is a call for more kind of concern with the new majors like artificial intelligence, technology, and all that. I remember in one of the meetings, I heard one of a former minister saying that the whole market is saturated with some professions, that now students, when they start joining the university, have to think ahead. They have to think in terms of education and the market needs, what the society needs, because this is part of the economy. Since there has always been the myth that graduates from medicine, pharmacy, some kind of the top-notch faculties, these are the blessed students who are going to go to heaven right out after graduation with a lot of money. This has always been a myth, and this has led to unemployment among these majors. So now, with the ever-changing dynamics of work across the world, now there is more focus on technology, electronics, ethical hacking, other majors. And in line with these majors, there were new universities being built by the government.
Indeed.
Yeah, like community universities, community universities, technical universities. And if you think about those technical universities, they were built, some of them were built in Upper Egypt. Like
all across Egypt. No, just a minute, because you're taking all at once,
yes.
Okay? So we have to divide what you spoke about. So first, we're speaking about a revolution in Egypt,
yes.
in education. Yeah. Are we speaking here about the methods that are being applied, or are we speaking about the curriculums that are being taught? Are we speaking about building in the capacity of the students? Are we speaking about building the capacity of teachers? What are we speaking about?
Okay, of course. I just want to, to provide you with more background about myself, being a teacher trainer at one of the private universities,
right.
international universities here in Egypt. And I would just want to tell you that the educational system here in Egypt is a little bit complicated, that the government is keen on providing a kind of more dynamic, more lenient curriculum, which is more adaptable to the changing world with all the needs of the market. The curriculum is changing, but the methods of teaching are usually traditional, because we need to provide more training to teachers. So, honestly speaking, if we're going to look at education from a panoramic point of view, we can see that there is a change in the curriculum. Yes, definitely, yes. Much less than before. Touching more on practical needs for the market. Very good. More kind of hands-on activities. Very good curriculum. But at the same time, our teachers, well trained for that, unfortunately, most of them are not. And here comes the role of some, non-profit organizations. And I forgot to tell you that I'm the president of one of those conferences, non-profit conferences, which provide free training to teachers. We're trying to tell them that with the changing curriculum, you have to vary your teaching styles to be able to, cope with the different intelligences of the students. We usually say that
categories. Oh, we're speaking about the different categories of students
of
and
course.
standards. Yes.
Yes, of course. We've got the kinesthetic student, we've got the visual student. So with the multiple intelligences, what we call in education, multiple intelligences of students, you have to change your teaching pedagogies and teaching methodologies. But in fact, we need teachers to be more trained and to accentuate the importance of professional development.
So this is about the training of teachers, and definitely that has to deal with the methods they are being taught with. But also we're speaking about building the capacity of the students themselves. And that is another important, you said, so they can cope with the requirements of the market and all this. Why is education put in the forefront of Egypt's Vision 2030 from your point of view?
Because education is the core of development. If you analyze the history of any developed nation, developed country, you'll find that the first thing they worked on was education. Simply, we need to provide cadres of graduates who can work abroad or work in the domestic market, but with international skills. So the first thing in terms of economy, we need to improve education. If we want to improve health care and health services, we have to provide better education for medics. If we want to improve the infrastructure, better education for engineers. So in all majors, they all come under the umbrella of education. And education all starts with kindergarten. We usually say the university. I'm a university teacher, and usually I get the graduates of schools, and I can see the consequence, the final outcome of the hard work of teachers or otherwise. So some teachers, I feel the effort of parents and teachers put together into a student, and he or she comes over to me to university with critical thinking skills, presentation skills, negotiation skills, very good language skills, then I can say that from first year of the university, that student can do something like summer training. And by the way, that was one of the points on the agenda of the government, is that we need to encourage students during the university to have kind of summer training to be well prepared for the market right from the first year.
Yes, indeed. Speaking about the methods, and I have here to speak about the knowledge bank, because that is very much new for Egypt. And knowledge bank is just for people to understand exactly what is the knowledge bank, so we can go on with our discussion.
It's a combination of number of resources of information for parents and students, and videos, files, free access to international channels. I don't want to mention the names, but these are worldwide channels which can provide science, biology, history, physics, calculus, math in a very entertaining way, through visuals, audios, files, mind maps, all that for free.
We're speaking like Google, the Egyptian version of Google.
Very good, yes, of course, but in an academic way.
In
academic way, not just something generic. Academic files, videos, audios, channels, resources, as if you're going to a library. But instead of having a library with different books, we have the library categorized according to primary, elementary, and then high school. So this gives us kind of an access to a plethora of resources which can be very helpful. But once again, don't forget that I said that education is quite complicated, because with all these blessings, the flip side of that is that parents are not very much familiar with such resources. Teachers, not all of them are using such resources. So when I provide you with an equipment, I have to make sure that you can use it. And that's the problem. We need to provide training, a long training. And once again, if we talk about education, we're talking about different dimensions, the pillars of education. Pillars: teachers, students, parents, administration, and then authorities.
Indeed, indeed. Let me take it from this side. We're speaking about capabilities of students vis-a-vis the capabilities of teachers, because we are aware that our children nowadays, they are very much into technology. For an instant, they're not just using the knowledge bank and Google and all. There is also the chat GPT, for an instant, and all these very sophisticated channels that we have not been aware of before, or it was not really available. This kind of education, by open book, or by the research, or by just recording and delivering, how can, I mean, here we're not very much, or the parents are not very much aware to what they are not used to. How is that being dealt with?
Yeah, artificial intelligence actually poses a threat across the whole world. If you ever open any channel, you will find that the whole world is talking about artificial intelligence. So if we talk about artificial intelligence and education, some educators are panicking. Some educators are panicking that one day you'll find Mr. Robot teaching. But,
the chat GPT.
Yeah, of course. However, this is the point, is that we have to know that when computers started, people panicked. When internet started, people panicked. So with every technological upheaval or revolution, usually human beings people across the world usually panic at the beginning. But now there are studies of how to integrate artificial intelligence in education. And by the way, artificial intelligence, if manipulated properly, it can be an asset to the classroom. So once again, I provided a workshop to a Greek organization about the use of artificial intelligence in teaching. And I said, instead of you as a teacher tell the students, I want you to study something about a country, instead of the student wastes the time about the what, ChatGPT can help him with the what. But now, education is not just about what. Education is about how. Why?
Why?
Yeah. So once again,
this is a very important.
if I tell you what are the most important channels, news channels, Nile TV is one of. Okay, this is the what.
Thank you.
How can we reach out to more people? Why social media and media make a change? So it's you taking the levels of questions upwards to improve and boost the critical thinking skills of students. So when we talk about artificial intelligence, they can at least help us with the basics of human knowledge. Basics. Because I don't want the student just to keep reading to know more about country. ChatGPT can do that.
Indeed. Getting back to our topic itself and the efforts that has been done by the government in order to put the students on the right track through schools, through universities. I mean here the ordinary school times and definitely the higher education.
You're talking about education in general?
I'm speaking about the efforts of the government in both areas.
Actually, I'm quite impressed by the diverse types of universities that are being built. So now, if you're talking about universities in the past, we only had governmental universities. And the only change after that was private universities. But now we have governmental, private, and then community university, Ahliya University. And by the way, we have Galala University, which was one of the best technical and technological universities which provide education in technical fields. For example, something like electric cars, eco-friendly devices, such technologies that do not conflict with the environment and the atmosphere, and that can help in solving the problem of global warming. These majors are quite new in the world, and now when you find that these universities are opening across Egypt, I think that is a revolution.
Indeed. Right, before we continue on with our discussion, let me first take this second report. And Egypt has 90 universities serving 3.6 million students, according to the higher education minister. Let's watch.
Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research, Ayman Ashur, stated Wednesday that Egypt has 27 public universities, 27 private universities, 20 semi-private universities, 10 technology universities, and branches of 6 foreign universities, serving a total of 3.6 million students. The minister pointed out that many Egyptian universities occupy advanced ranks globally in certain fields and in international publishing of academic research. Cairo University made major progress in the QS World University Rankings in 2022, where the university became among the top 100 universities in 5 subjects, according to a statement by Cairo University President Mohamed in April 2022. Listed disciplines from Cairo University also increased by 160% compared to 2017, with a 31.7% increase in the order of the top 300 universities included in the QS ranking. Cairo University is the only Egyptian university that is present in the 5 broad subject areas of the QS ranking, which include 51 disciplines. It ranked from 51 to 100 in civil and construction engineering, petroleum engineering and hospitality, and leisure management, in pharmacy and pharmacology. It ranked 81 globally and 51 to 70 in dentistry. Both disciplines of pharmacy and hospitality were included in the list for the first time, making it to the top 100 ranks. Meanwhile, in the subjects of arts and humanities, the university ranked 271. In technology, it ranked 134 and 178 in biology and medicine. Education in Egypt. The Egyptian government has prioritized education reform in the 21st century. In 2014, Egypt was ranked 115 in the Human Development Index, HDI, and 9th in the Middle East and Northern Africa's bottom 10 HDI countries.
Right, welcome back, and back to you, Dr. Moose. We were speaking about the governmental efforts, and we've seen in the reports so many universities and schools that have been built and constructed all across Egypt. We are not speaking about just one governorate, but all across Egypt. Turning back to a very important issue, which is moving from the old-fashioned traditional models of lecturing and of education to the most modern way. And do we need teams for teaching, or a kind of peers-led teaching models? How do we deal with our international partners in this domain, and how is the leadership and the government trying to make access to those partners?
Well, you know, being the president of one of those non-profit conferences that we provide free of charge workshops, we can see that there are some international agencies, some world embassies, the US Embassy, the British Embassy. They provide free training to teachers in Azhar, in governmental schools. So what actually is good is that there is a cooperation with other nations which are quite developed in education, and they help teachers develop their teaching skills. By the way, when we talk about teaching skills, we're talking about the change in the mindset of the students. Students are not going to accept the traditional way. They are so much kind of stuck to their mobile phones and tablets. And that's why if teachers don't change their styles, students will not be attentive. They need teachers with new abilities that match the tendencies of students and their new kind of new addiction, their addiction to technology. Students now are addicted to technology, WhatsApp applications and all that. So this is why we now have something called mobile learning, online learning, virtual learning, e-learning. All they use, and now artificial intelligence is implemented, as I mentioned before. So once again, what I'm saying is that students have become they oppose any traditional way of lecturing for the sake of lecturing. They need teachers who can develop rapport with them and provide them with different ways of teaching. And of course, once again, as I said, education in Egypt, with the revolution happening, still needs a lot of reform. And one of the things that need to be changed is that to decrease the capacity of students in the classroom and to provide not just a whiteboard and chairs. We need to provide something like smart boards, because students now, they are becoming used to technology, so they want to see audiovisuals. The current generation is not a generation of read. Watch, read from tablets, summarize, record, speak, upload on channels, YouTube, TikToks. This is how the change is happening to education.
Now I'll ask you about what parents are usually thinking about. Okay, so we'll get out of all the hard work that has been made by the government and the leadership in this domain, and ask very primitive questions by the parents. How can I give a quality education to my child, and at the same time with affordable money, because that is the theme of what parents are thinking about. And how are we making that, or how is the government making that available?
Okay. Of course, we're talking about the power of mummies. We have to know quite well that nowadays, we know quite well that mothers are very influential now, and they're becoming part of the decision making now in education. We listen to them because they are the ones who look after their kids in education. So when it comes to parents, what is the secret recipe of quality education? The secret recipe is that if you want to provide quality education to your kid, you have to make sure that kids know something called note-taking skills. Note-taking skills, I don't want the kid to memorize. I want the kid, the child, the student, whatever stage he or she is in, to listen, summarize, mind mapping, and then after that, you as a parent provide him with the equipment required to record video and maybe have something like a secret channel on YouTube. Why is that? We have tried an experiment of how we can teach parents how to look after their kids academically. In other words, note-taking, present, record myself, upload on the video. Students gain their confidence, okay?
But I was not exactly speaking about our job as parents and what should we be doing with our kids. Rather, I was speaking about how is the government working on providing our children with quality education and at the same time affordable prices.
Yes.
Because that is a matter of concern to parents.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And once again, as I mentioned before, the diverse types of schools that we have. I'm not talking about the sector of families that send their kids to international schools. I'm talking about now experimental schools, language schools. Now, definitely, yes, government is providing, as I said, free access to channels. And they're now telling teachers that you have to go through professional development. You as a teacher develop yourself through evaluation. Students evaluate the teachers, and teachers provide free resources, activities to improve the talents and the abilities of students. Of course, this is the right track that the government is providing. Teachers are being trained. Yes, definitely, yes, this is quite important in cooperation with international agencies. At the same time, curriculum is being changed. And finally, this is now, I think I've heard the president, I heard him more than once talking about the importance of having a second language, English, French, German. This is very important to prepare the kids for the market, the international market. And at the same time, of course, you've heard about the importance of the Arabic Day for the sake of the Arabic culture. So yes, there is a revolution in all ways. And by the way, there is something called the channels, education channels, free on TV for all students.
Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Fortunately, my time is out, even though that I love to speak about education.
Thank you.
And this matter, I guess that is a topic that we need to speak more about in this coming or this upcoming stage. Dr. Mohamed Khalil Musa, educational consultant, thank you so much for being with us and for your input.
Thank you.
Thank you. And dear viewers, I guess that takes us to the end of this episode. Next debate will be on Sunday, so many thanks for watching and good night.